Good morning. Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Hatfield, chair of the SAFSF board. On behalf of the board, it's my distinct pleasure and a bit of a relief to welcome you to the SAFSF 2022 forum. Thank you very sincerely for coming. We know that travel still carries risk, that it's more expensive than before, and that this is always a busy time of year, but especially now, it means so much to have you with us. Big thank you to everyone here for taking the steps from dealing with third-party verification, which I know is a little bit glitchy for some, to wearing your masks to help keep us, help keep each other and our loved ones safe. A lot of us, myself included, live with people who are immune compromised or have little ones at home, and so we thank you for taking that care. I know a lot of dads cut their Father's Day celebrations short yesterday to be here, and that we're marking the second federally recognized Juneteenth holiday. It was not our intention to usurp these holidays, but COVID continues to complicate things. We've been negotiating to honor this contract with this hotel for several years now, and these dates, like so many things, were not exactly what we envisioned, but here we are. It's really hard to know where to start. Before I moved into what we call our partner team at the Grace Communications Foundation, where I serve as senior advisor, I spent over a decade blogging and doing other communication work. And I'm still amazed by how many times this past few years I've found myself at a complete loss for words. There's a little added layer today, making the big shift out of my safety zone to address you without my cat, without my sweatpants. But it's a lot easier to toggle at least between my notes and your faces, even if it's missing your smiles or whatever the bottom of your face might be doing right now. Awkward jokes aside, it really is hard to know where to start. And I hope you'll forgive me the analogy, but small talk feels so loaded right now. So being in a meeting together feels a little extra awkward, not just being out of practice. And whether it be family or the weather or certainly politics, nearly any topic, there's likely to be pain involved. And because we're socialized to gloss over those awkwardness, it feels tricky kind of coming into a meeting like this. Luckily, we have smarter, more skillful people than myself here to help us find ways to come together and acknowledge together some of the experiences that we're bringing into this meeting, one of the first meetings back after 3 really devastating years. And lucky for all of us, the staff has tasked me with simpler messages for you. I'm up here to kind of explain a little bit about how the day's gonna go and touch quickly on our theme. Then I'll hand you over to the real experts. First of all, logistics. We're starting the day with funders only, which has implications for our schedule. Why wouldn't we be together from the start? SAFSF, above all, is a network for learning and exploration about philanthropy and food systems, for sure, but also about equity in practice, and that applies to the way that we do business, from our internal operations to the content and style of our meetings. Like similar networks, SAFSF historically has organized our meetings around us, the funders. And typically, non-funder speakers would be invited, would kind of be limited to the time that they spent in the meetings, usually to the day that they spoke. And over the years, we had feedback on that and the power dynamics around it. So in 2017, we opened all but a couple of the hours of the meeting to non-funder speakers, and we also started offering members the opportunity to invite food systems partners, non-funder attendees beyond those invited to speak on panels or workshops. There were a bunch of reasons for this, because we know that part of improving the sector is helping to demystify it for our nonprofit colleagues and to help make connections beyond those few dozen who might speak at the conference or at our site visits. Because increasing the numbers of them relative to the numbers of us helps shift the power dynamics, whereas keeping the meeting limited served to further consolidate power. But mostly because we know that they bring a great value to our discussions. This is the first year that we're opening with a funders only section. One year we closed with it, which did not feel right. we evolve as we learn. We had planned to try this model out here in Kansas City in 2020, and to be honest, it's been so long now that I don't remember exactly our original thinking about it. But I'll be very interested to see how it hits with you all, and in my mind, it gives us a chance to land and touch base before our partners arrive, and gives them also a little more flexibility, chance to connect with each other as they come in as well. We'll see how it goes, and now no doubt we'll continue to tinker with our model. Because of the way that the day is set up today, the land acknowledgement or something like it will happen at the lunchtime panel as part of the plenary, in part because of the complicated history of the land here, and in part because we don't have our full group with us yet. If the setup were different and they were here already, I might have focused this intro a little bit more on power dynamics, but my fellow board member, Olivia Watkins, will talk more about this in a few hours with the full group. I do want to say a few things. Because of course, the amount of time that a person spends in a meeting is only one aspect of power dynamics. The information and connections a person brings in, the degree to which they can disconnect from their other obligations, the type of organization and the role they play within it, all layer in complicated ways over the more obvious racial, gender, and class differences that we experience. Power and privilege also factor into how we approach commitment and accountability, both here and more broadly. I was a psych major in undergrad, and I am really fascinated by the social phenomena around philanthropy, and super grateful for the people who pointed out to me years ago how my proximity to extreme wealth and power impacts the way that I experience risk. Because it's easy to say, my board only wants to do this or that, and assume that that's never gonna change, not to rock the boat, to kind of protect myself. But my job is to advise, in service to the greater good, recognizing that no one has all the answers, even if they hold a lot of power, and that my position impacts how I see things. Conversely, when a person is accountable to their community and working with them to solve problems, there's a massive risk in inaction, right? Because they have to answer to their neighbors and community, and their friends who are in the struggle with them. A lot is going to come up these next couple of days. My hope for myself and for the funders in this room is that we do minimal harm, because we know that mistakes will be made, and that we will own our mistakes, and that the learning, growth, and actions that we take as a result of this and other meetings will outweigh that harm. None of us is perfect. We were born into systems that we didn't create and socialized with ideas that didn't come from inside of us. But it's up to us to account for our biases, to try to account for our biases, and there are always steps that we can do and that we can take in the direction of justice. Before I close, I have a couple of asks for you this week, because we have a lot of power in this room, not just the millions of dollars that we help steer, but interpersonal power too. And the more that we care for and trust each other, the more effective and less harmful we'll be. So my first ask is to please take care of yourself and each other. We have a lot of awesome content, and I get kind of FOMO sometimes and can kind of veer back and forth between being an introvert and being really energized by the big group. I just encourage you to take care of yourself, break away for a rest or an exercise, take little bites, and be easy on yourself. My second ask is that you look with real curiosity at where and how you factor in, both to the problems and the solutions. Be bold in your questions and brave in your connections. Look for big ways, even if it will take time to persuade your board or otherwise get there from here, to shift power and funding in the direction of equity and justice, not just impact to whatever your board cares about. My final request, and Virginia's going to introduce the staff in a minute here, but as chair, I would like to recognize the incredible SAFS staff for all their prep work and everything they'll do together for us this week. For over half the staff, this is their first in-person forum, and there's no question that if it's trickier for us to be here now than it was before COVID, it's trickier for them to pull it off. So please be patient and appreciative with them. Thank you in advance for the energy and ideas and curiosity and the deep care that I know that you brought with you here to Kansas City. Again, welcome, thank you, and enjoy.
Now we're going to see the real test, whether my new glasses will help and I can actually read what the notes are. Okay, Lonnie assures me that with the green button, let's see. Da-da-da. I'm Virginia Clark. I am the executive director of this August network, Sustainable Agriculture and Food Systems Funders. And don't worry, for those of you who are new, I'm 19 years in and I still flub up the name, both the full name and the acronym, so it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's really an honor to be here and to look out and see so many faces, many of whom I know for many years, many of whom I've never seen you, I've never heard your name, and I'm so excited to meet you. Thank you. A bit about SAFSF. We're a national network of funders, philanthropists, investors, government agencies, all kinds of folks who are working for a just and sustainable food and ag system. We have just over 100 members, and that number has stayed pretty constant, but we've always been growing and changing, and one of the things that's most amazing to me is the number of funders who are not in this room or who are not members, who are not even connected up to each other. There are literally many, many hundreds of funders and investors who are working in this space currently that we don't know about, and that's a problem. But so one of my things is to really try and connect people. I am a dot connector. Someone referred to me as a power pollinator. There are lots of us in this room, but it's really important to connect up. Last year, just among our members, and this doesn't include several members who aren't able to disclose, but they were getting out $240 million. It's a lot of money. That's on an annual basis. That's not including all of the millions coming out of USDA. That's not including all the millions that are going into impact investing. So be mindful of that, those numbers. We have over 62 different areas of topics that people are funding in. Our taxonomy is quite extensive. We're trying to narrow it down, but people are working in every single issue. The current focus, consolidation, concentration, climate change, and land access. And you'll hear more about those and how we got there from Renee Katakalos afterwards. So, who are we? Who's going to be in this room? There are 175 registered attendees. That includes all the funders and all of the non-funders, the ranchers, et cetera. What it doesn't include are all of the many tens of folks that you will meet on your site visit, who are obviously a big part of this forum. There are 14 different kinds of funders. Like I said, community foundations, investors, private foundations, government entities. We span that spectrum as well. Really happy to do that because we think that everybody's money is important. None of us can do it by ourselves, and that it's important to be all at the same table. So just over half of the 175 are funders, but there are many non-funders, like I said, people who are here going to be speaking, attending as food system partners, et cetera, and this is our 20th annual. Don't do the math too much, but I do encourage you to really look at all the photos, the fun photos outside on the poster boards, because there's a lot of memories there for those of you who've been with us for some time. The staff. I would like the staff to stand up, please, and I would like all of you to join me in a round of applause. Susie DeMauro, Aaron Olszewski, Tracy Bruckner, Bridget Dabrowski, Angie Boone, Ellen Serpico, Maggie Smith is in the back, Renee Katakalos is up here. I am honored. You can sit down. or if you have other things you have to do. It's an amazing team happens to be all women. I am incredibly honored and learn by their side every single day. If you need something, please contact one of us. We will be happy to help you. This is the QR code, and I have to say that I was really struck by having that in one of our meetings, but it's a new tool for us. The Whova app, if you haven't downloaded it, that's where you can really do the connecting. We have gone away from paper attendee lists and bios. There are amazing people. Find each other through that app, find out where the agenda is, etc. As I said, the displays that are out there, they have done this great walk through the forum yearbook or the SAFSF yearbook. Sign your names, just like a real yearbook. Ask the questions that you need to. If you can write on them. But one of the things that's also out there is a map. And we're looking, next year we're going to be in Washington, D.C. for our forum. After that, we don't know. Help us figure that out. Put suggestions of places and people, etc. And for those of you who tweet, follow us on SAFSF Funders and use hashtag SAFSF22. You can tell I'm not a tweeter. Okay. Raise your hand if this is your first forum. Yes. A whole lot of you, and that includes 4 staff. Raise your hand if you've been to 3 or more. All right, quite a few. 5 or more? That's right. Bruce, you can just keep your hand up for a while, you and Karen. 10 or more? Okay. More than me? Oren, where are you? Oren Hesterman was at the first forum, which I did not attend because it was prior to my being with the organization in New York City, and I think there were about 20 people in the room, maybe. I had a bet with Oren in 2003 that we would have over 30 in San Francisco. We had 31. I won the bet. But one of the things I want to encourage those of you who are new, find some of the folks who've been around for some time. Those of you who have been around for some time, find the new folks, because there's a lot of wisdom to be shared across those two differences. One of the things that has really struck me, and I had the opportunity last week to go to the Food Systems Leadership Network that the Wallace Center put on, was a gathering of about 75 people. I knew a handful. That too was really awesome, to be in a room with folks from all over the country who are doing the work kind of in community. And we were reminded that each one of our organizations represents far more than who's in this room. So think about all the people that you work with, all of the people that you work with in community, all the people that those community members work with that are working on sustainable agriculture and food system. There are millions and millions of us, not only in this country, but elsewhere internationally. So don't think that it's not possible. Don't think that we are few. Don't think that we can't make the change that we want to see. I'm going to go to the name tags. Got a little dot on your name. Some of you might have more than one dot. The yellow dots, if it haven't been explained to you, is comfort level with being close in terms of COVID precautions. Red means just be cautious. As Leslie said, there's a lot of people who are immunosuppressed or have family members at home. Convening sponsors. We could not do this without sponsorship, and we are very, very grateful. Those of you who have been around for some time know that I am loath to put on logos, but we have changed. We have really want to acknowledge all of the sponsors. Grace Communications, Ag Marketing Services at USDA, the Missouri Foundation for Health, Sunflower Foundation, the 11th Hour Project, Agroecology Fund, Thousand Currents, Thread Fund, Woodcock Foundation, the HRK Foundation, Avila Fund, Iowa State University, Lawson Valentine, and the Lumpkin Family Foundation. Thank you all. You can clap. Whoops. How did he get in there? He's coming later. Couple of things. We are going to have media with us. We're going to have 4 representatives of the media, connections to the Missouri School of Journalism with us over the course of the next few days. Everything is off the record and on background, but those of you who have been around the media know that if you don't want something in print, just be mindful of what you're saying. They will all be introducing themselves, and we're really honored that they're here with us. I want to add a couple of things about the theme, about a commitment and accountability. For some, this is a bold theme for our forum, especially those in the non-funder space. And I've actually had a couple of people said, really? Really? Funders are going to have a conference where they will really talk about their commitment and hold themselves and each other accountable? Do you really think they'll do it? Do you think they'll show up? Well, you're here, so you showed up. So I'm guessing is that you're willing and able to have those conversations. If past forums are any indication of what's to come, the next few days will be deeply thought-provoking, long, fun, expose you to people, ideas, vistas that you've never experienced before, but that will have a lasting impact. There will be connections made, ideas that will spring forward, and actually, and I'm looking at the folks in this table from the Food and Farm Communications Fund, which grew out of a forum, and I don't remember which one, but it was over 10 years ago. So be careful, there's all kinds of things that will come in your future as a result of attending this meeting. Lean into your commitment, lean on each other, think how you want to show up now and once you leave here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Renee Katakalos, who's our Vice President of Strategy and Impact.
Good morning, everybody. As Virginia said, I'm Renee Katakalos. Really glad to see everybody here today. And I'm going to be the last speaker of this part of the welcome to get us into our funder peer sessions this morning. I'm going to see if we have some other slides beside. I think we'll just do this a little bit without the slides. That's fine. Okay. So the next session of our forum this morning, our first actual content sessions, are our funder peer sessions. And as Leslie spoke about earlier, as SAFSF has expanded the forum to involve a variety of non-funders as well, we've always kept a little bit of space for funders to get together and just work with their peers and dig a little bit into the specific and unique challenges and issues that they're working with in their own kind of spaces. So what we're doing today around our funder peer sessions is going to be to dig in a little bit further to the focus areas that we are doing a lot of our programming and policy work around this year and into the next. As Virginia said, we have for many years been asking funders as they join our organization and as they renew each year to kind of tick off on a list of taxonomy, like what areas within sustainable agriculture and food systems are they working in, are they supporting? That list is over 60 discrete, specific kinds of topics. So as we're talking about commitment and as we're looking at the things that happened over the last few years, we started to look at how we could narrow some of our focus a bit so that we can bring funders together in more intentional ways to learn about some of those topic areas that are really broadly intersectional and also have a real potential for systems level change that we are talking about trying to affect. So in order for us as an organization to help our funder members really go deeper into those areas, we decided to pull a few out to really spend a lot of our time talking about over the next year or two. And this was based on looking at responses that we've had to different programming in the past, looking at what those issue areas are, and also looking at what was happening around us in the field and in the news and in the ways that funding was coming out of USDA and other places. So the three areas that we came up with last year are consolidation and concentration, climate change, and land access. And so this morning, our funder peer sessions are we'll have one session for each of those topics, and we're also going to have a fourth funder peer session, which is an overview. So this is for folks who may not be completely sure which one of those three areas they want to dive deeper into yet, or maybe haven't yet seen the connections of your specific area of funding to those three broader intersectional topics that we're focusing on. So if you have already an interest in one of those 3 sections, definitely go to one of the sessions, and if you want to learn more about all 3, then you would go to the overview. And you've probably signed up for one in advance, but feel free to make a decision when we leave here on which one you want to go to. So again, those are the 3 areas. This is actually from our website, so these focus areas also have some background and a little bit of information about how we're addressing them on our website. If you go to the What We Do tab in our website and go to areas of impact, then you can read more about them. So each of these sessions today are going to be facilitated by 2 of the funders in our group. So I'm going to refer everybody to the Whova app. All of this is clearly laid out in your app, but just to make sure that we all are clear, the climate change session is going to be in Andy Kirk A and B. All of these rooms are on the 3rd floor. And the funder facilitators of that session are Mark Muller and Haley Burns. I'm sorry, Burns? Yeah, I can't read my own handwriting. Sorry. The consolidation and concentration session is going to be facilitated by Leslie Hatfield and her colleague Maggie Tornak. The land access session is going to be facilitated by Kalila Booker-Cassano and Dave Nezzi. And we are also the overview session is going to be facilitated by Stacy Barbas and Jonathan Halprin. And so the rooms are all, if you look at funder peer sessions in Whova, you can find the rooms there. So in these conversations, we're going to take the opportunity to kind of open up these spaces for funders to learn from each other and talk about where you're funding now, what kinds of gaps you're seeing, what kinds of groups we want to dig into, what groups are you already funding in these areas, but also helping to see where there are other groups out there that need more support, that could be more effective, that are filling some gaps but have been under the radar. How are we going to kind of get to more alignment around having the funding going to places that is really going to help move these issues forward, and looking for more systemic change that we've been talking about. So the issues are very broad, even though we came out of our 62-item taxonomy down to 3, those 3 issues in themselves are really, really broad. So these conversations are going to go in a lot of different directions, and then we are hoping that what comes out of them helps us to do further programming and activities and convening around the parts of them that you all say are the most important places that you want to go, or the areas where you could use some support to bring some more alignment and intentionality to your work. So we're very excited to see how those come out. So I did want to reiterate that this first session until lunchtime today is a funder-only space. I know that some of the folks we have with us for breakfast this morning are some of our non-funder guests, so y'all get to take a break, to have a walk around downtown Kansas City, drink more coffee and tea, and kind of catch up with each other too, and then we will all convene as a full group here for lunch. So just a couple of final kind of housekeeping bits I wanted to say. We will have staff in each of these rooms, checking folks in or kind of trying to get a list of who all is in the room for our sessions. This helps us moving forward to understand where the interest areas are, who has expertise on different topics, who's looking for more information about these topics, and helps us to be intentional about the way we program going forward. So please, help us make sure that we account for everyone and where you are. And then finally, I wanted to point out that on the 3rd floor, there are only a few bathrooms. So during break sessions, you may want to come down to the 2nd floor to the bathroom bank, which is just near the elevator. And finally, we do have 2 rooms upstairs on the 3rd floor. They're at the far end of our meeting corridor on the right. One is Big Joe Turner A, which is where we are going to continue some of the activities that we're doing, like from our vision wall out here in the foyer. It's marked SAFSF activities. And then Big Joe Turner B is reserved as kind of a quiet room. We don't have any programming planned for that room. It's a space that if you, like Leslie was saying, if there's just like so much going on and you can't figure it out, or you just need a break, you just need to stop hearing people talk for a few minutes, or you want to go and kind of organize your notes and pull yourself together for your next thing, that space is there, and you are welcome to go in there at any time, and just respect the fact that people are coming there to try to kind of have a quiet break. So probably not the best place to kind of do side meetings or anything like that, but there's lots of foyer space for those kinds of things. So with that, I think Virginia has one more thing. Okay. So we're going to go and find your rooms for the Funder Peer sessions. Any board members, there's going to be a group photo in the foyer before you go to your session, so please stop for that right now. So please get into the foyer right now for that photo. And Maggie is going to corral you for that, and everybody else, enjoy your sessions, and we'll see you back here at lunchtime.